maybe in Australia, but here it's the airlines funding the apps. So from a business standpoint, we're looking at that part of it. As a user, I'd say the place where I have the least amount of access is a mall. And I've often said, I don't like to go window shopping, but a lot of that is because I can't without somebody, having to go on somebody else's schedule. So I think malls would be amazing, and I think it would be good for everybody to be able to have that kind of access in malls, not just blind people, but particularly if you can't see, it's helpful.
And what sort of cost is it to put those Bluetooth devices into, say, an airport of San Francisco size?
Well, Bluetooth beacons are cost of goods, or cost of the beacon itself, $20, $10. The trick is in how many you put in and over what space. I'll just give you an example. We just put in a bid for the Washington, D.C. Metro, which has 91 stations. And they want beacons outside of the bus stops and in those stations. And our whole bid was $2.2 million. We also did that for the Sound Transit in Seattle. And they're doing it specifically for accessibility. So if you have 2 transit agencies in the country who are interested, and you start scaling that to a lot more, even the large agencies, I think you're going to see that there's some pretty decent money in it. The cost will go down as we move away from infrastructure development to Wi-Fi fingerprinting, which is a whole other discussion.
Thank you.
I'm a little overwhelmed by the premise that an app can replace somebody that's guiding you or helping you in as inhospitable an environment as an airport, or in my case, I just came back from a couple of weeks in London navigating the underground consistently and just thinking that no station is uniform, nothing, it's a labyrinth of a maze really of tunnels and stairs. And even in the example you showed in Louisville, where you knew the Starbucks was on the left side, once you get to the Starbucks, to even determine where I'm supposed to queue, or do I queue to the left or the right? Am I at the order pickup or I'm at the order ordering? And are you able to get to that fine tuning of which way to turn in the men's room? So you're going to the stall side or the urinal side. I mean, everything becomes very complicated.
Yeah, bathrooms are particularly inhospitable for feeling around.
Right. Well, or window shopping in there, either one.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things. One is there's not one tool that fits every situation. So I have a toolbox of things that I'm operating with. So we're not really replacing sighted assistance, we're augmenting it. There's a wonderful Dateline piece that they did on me when I was first learning, first showing the GPS, 1997. We stood on a corner down in the financial district, and they had long-range cameras, and I stood there, and I asked people that came by, I said, "Where's Tattage's Grill?" And then Dateline edited it together, and it's this hilarious piece where people are pointing all these different directions. It's that way, it's up, it's down, it's over there. So sighted people are just not that reliable when it comes to directions. I mean, GPS accuracy is on average 30 feet. I don't know what sighted people accuracy is.
What kind of ongoing costs are there? You talked about the $2 million for the installation, but is there additional bandwidth required? What's the ongoing cost?
Well, we have a small company running at a burn rate of about $100,000 a month. So it's highly dependent on getting these contracts. There also are a fair number of grants that are available through the federal government, through the NIDLR, the Rehabilitation Fund, to fund research. And this is how I funded my last company, because the blindness market by itself is a small niche market. And when you have apps that cost nothing or $10 or even $100, that's not going to fund you. The end user can't fund you. So you have to work with grants as well as contracts. And there's, as I say, I've funded all the R&D that I did in Sendero Group through those federal grants. Anybody else?
Thank you. I think we have heard about a lot of different types of indoor navigation for people who are blind or have low vision. Can you kind of share with us in terms of your product and how it might be different than the other products that we've seen out there?
Well, the difference is really not up to us. The difference is that the world is changing finally. Because I've been working on indoor navigation since the 90s. There was a lot of military money to fund research because you have people, you have military guys who are crawling around in the jungle and they can't see either. So we kind of use blind people as the analogy to that, and we got funded for a lot of indoor navigation. Because of the Apple factor and beacons becoming more popular, and you've got 100 different beacon companies right now, not only in accessibility arena, but in all sorts of different arenas. There's a company in Oakland called Locus Labs. They've got 150 airports as customers so far. So it's really the fact that the world is changing and not that we're doing anything particularly rocket scientist. But the user interface, of course, is what's key to a blind person, and it's important that we get that right.
Okay. All right.
Quick question in the audience.
I have a question. How much would it cost to beacon a hotel room? Which is, say you had an ADA room that wasn't compliant for the blind.
I don't need to beacon a hotel room. I need to get those touch panel things, the phone, the television, the remote. I need to get those things accessible. But that's nothing to do with beacons. What you can do with beacons, however, is have rich content. So let's say in a museum, once I'm near something and I hear I'm at a particular exhibit, I want it to trigger and tell me more details. And you have some of that now outside. You go to Yellowstone or other national parks and you can get rich content. I also want to know, by the way, and this is what the Apple tags will be good for, I want to know who's in this room, who's over there, and that's another app that we developed called People Finder, and I think it's closer related to the market of indoor navigation. We will add value not only to where you are, but more information about what's near you.
Mike, do you have trouble finding your hotel room?
It depends. Most hotels now have Braille or raised letters, so I kind of enjoy figuring things out on my own. But I just made a trip from Monterey to Dubai and back, and I thought about all the little pieces along the way, taking an Uber, going through the airport, dealing with the restaurants, and the difference really for me versus you is it's a puzzle to solve, but I have 1,000 pieces and you probably have 100. So it's just way more complicated for me to figure it out. But finding a hotel room, yeah, I can find it. It's really more about finding this room or the restaurant or a ballroom. The bar you can always hear.
One question in the audience.
Are there any privacy issues related to this?
Oh, there's huge. This is the biggest problem about acquiring maps for places. People are worried that if you have maps out there, they're going to be public, and then they're vulnerable to some sort of violation of that space. So it is a huge problem, and a big part of our company is using LiDAR and fusing with other positioning information to be able to map a place. And a lot of the companies don't want that information in the cloud. They want you to store it locally for their own organization. So yeah, we have to be careful about that.
That was an amazing question because we were just running the European Union's Global Technology Forum, and they have a gold rush of these beacons, and they have the privacy regulations, and they were trying to figure out how we are going to innovate. This is an awesome subject.
And by the way, this does not put my dog out of business. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mike. A round of applause to Mike.